Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another one of our weekly Hamefura discussion videos. Today we're here to talk all about episode 6, I Became Engulfed by Desire. But before we get into the video proper, I do, as always, want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video. So a big thank you to Fool Planet, Honda Gilbert, Bubba Lubber, Jane May, and Matt87 Eagle. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video over on Twitter, everybody, and if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Hamefura video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout out the first handful of you in next week's video. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and get into it, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't open weird books. Okay, so we have 3 things that I want to actually address this week. We gotta talk about that study session, we gotta talk about a tale by the name of Desire, and we gotta talk about none other than our boy, Prince Alan. But before we get into that, I do want to talk, of course, about the study session. So Mary's whole alone time that she had planned with Katerina pretty much goes up in smoke. And I should stress that we begin the episode with Prince Alan. Well, we begin with Katerina, but like Prince Alan very quickly follows. And then we also end the episode in very much the same way we begin. Katerina doing something with Prince Alan soon to follow. And Mary sees this and is having no part of this, right? Like Mary's right away like, I gotta make sure that they don't get together, I gotta go break them up. So she immediately runs off and thinks that she's gonna be getting some alone time with our girl Katerina, basically getting some time to study with her in the student council room. It doesn't quite go that way, at least not the way that I think Mary was hoping it was gonna go. They do get to spend some alone time together, but the fact that Sirius is there also doesn't really help, and she's not really able to help as much as she could. But it is sweet to see Mary attempt to get some alone time with Katerina, even if Sirius D was there. And Sirius is, again, I don't know what's up with this man. I don't know if I really trust him. And I say that again because these weird reactions he has every time Katerina does something, I can't help but feel like he's taken aback by how she's, like, the kindness that's coming out of her. I feel like part of me is starting to think like maybe he's also reincarnated, but he remembers, unlike Sophia, just the way he's acting and the stuff that he's doing. Like maybe he's like the secret boss of the original Fortune Lovers and just nobody knew, or he was supposed to be like DLC that didn't come out or something like that, and it's making him act strangely. I don't know, but what I do know is he's the one who recommends the East Building Library, and this is like a really neat gothic setting that I really, really dug. I loved the look of the East Library. I think the big like circle room covered in books, it looks fantastic. It actually kind of reminds me of the library in the Shinra building in the new Final Fantasy game. It looks an awful lot like that, but more gothic, which I really dig, and would be an excellent place to study if I'm being totally honest. That said, the study session doesn't exactly last for much longer once they actually get inside of the East Building Library. Much like an Otome game, Katerina can't help but notice something shining in the background, which, again, this whole series is based off playing an Otome game. It's meant to sort of invoke a lot of the sort of visual novel, not like even specifically Otome game, although that is clearly the focus, but it's also got that visual novel sort of style where like you'll notice something in the background because there'll be like a shine on it, right? The game will specifically draw your attention to something in the background. And that's what happens here. Katerina can't help but notice a shine coming off a particular book, so she goes and picks it up, and what should it be but a tale by the name of Desire. This is basically a more nefarious 100 Acre Woods. If you've played Kingdom Hearts, you know exactly what I mean by that. But yeah, it is essentially a more, yeah, like I said, a more nefarious 100 Acre Woods, just in the sense that you can enter the book and be transported into a different world, but it's not like 100 Acre Woods where you can just leave and then pop out. You have to have that desire met and then some in order for you and your friends to re-emerge from said book. And this brings up an interesting point, because when they jump into the world, technically we are in another world, and then we are transported into multiple other worlds within the book titled A Tale by the Name of Desire, which I like to say because it just, I don't know, just makes me happy. It's a fun book title. But yeah, so essentially this is like an isekai within an isekai, this episode. We're Isekaiception right now. And seeing all the different fantasies that everybody has is gold. It's like, in particular, I thought seeing Nicole's was really sweet. The fact that he basically becomes the, what do they call him? The something count? I don't know. He wasn't no count though. You know exactly who, like my man looking like Tuxedo Mask. You knew exactly what they were doing when he emerged. I was like, that's just straight up Tuxedo Mask. That's just my boy. Holy shit. That's exactly who that is. I loved it, don't get me wrong, but it was funny. I couldn't help but laugh. I also thought like all the other scenes were great. I will say the Keith one was a little like, yikes. I know that Keith likes Katarina. I don't ship this. I think this is like my least favorite ship in the show. And seeing it play out in like a fantasy way where he's like feeding her treats, it's like, nah, fam. No, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think like everybody else's was relatively, yeah, like especially Prince Alan's. Like that dude just got to play piano. Sophia basically did like the pinning to the wall thing, which was adorable as hell. That was really sweet. I liked that. And Gerald's was just sort of like, yeah, he just wants to bang Katarina, which like Weebin knew. That's not a surprise. I will say he was much more like showy than normal. But again, this is like who we know him to be. There is like a streak to him that's a little bit darker. Not so much darker, but he can be sort of pompous and a little bit arrogant, and that came off a little bit in his desires, which, yeah, he just wants to bang Katarina, which, again, we've been new. I will say that seeing Mary and Maria, like, in a tough spot made me feel bad, because I would have loved to have seen what Mary and Maria's desire with Katarina was gonna be, because let's be real, like, they all like Katarina. I will say, between the two, Mary was the more flustered and like, I have to get them out of there. I can't stand to watch this. Whereas Maria was much more pragmatic. Like Maria was more in charge between the two. Like Maria seemed to have like, and I don't think that's because like, oh, Mary must love Katarina more. No, I just think between the two, Maria's more able to get a handle on her emotions. I think Maria loves Katarina just as much as everybody else. But I think it's interesting to show the difference between the two, that Mary was prone to panic, whereas Maria was very much like in control of her emotions, which is great to see. But on the opposite end, Mary was much more funny to watch. Seeing Mary like freak out was way funnier than Maria's sort of like, okay, we have to calm down. But I loved seeing the two of them be like, she can't have our stuff, like when they're holding the tray of treats and tea and everything. It was really, really good. And yeah, I don't know. I will say hearing them say that it was one of the school's 7 mysteries had me concerned. If I saw a ghost boy rock up in that library, I would have flipped my table, but luckily we did not see that. And of course, the way that they get out is by Katarina Kirbying everybody out of existence. And what I mean is literally she eats and eats and eats and eats and eats and eats and eats, and the book can't keep up. So they literally pop out of the book. Her desire was too much for the book to handle, and everybody is saved because Katarina couldn't stop eating. Bakarina to the damn rescue. I thought that was really fun. The other big thing that I have to mention this week, very interesting moment, is the ending. Now, Prince Alan is who we're going to be zeroing in on. And I have always considered Prince Alan to be the one with, like, no chance. Like, of all the cast in the entire show, while I do ship this quite a bit, and we've seen hints at it here and there, Alan seemed the one to be most doomed in terms of, like, he seemed the one that just wasn't going to have a chance. Like, Gerald and Katarina are engaged, so that's possible. Mary and Katarina have like an incredible bond, and Mary obviously is like the most frantic one, so that's possible. Maria is easily the most possible. Like, the antagonist and the protagonist, like, them coming together and dating would be a perfect end. So that's entirely possible. Sophia, clearly her reincarnated friend, also totally possible. Keith, I can't see at all. And Alan is the other one that, for the longest time, I just didn't see this happening. I didn't see a version of the show where Katarina ended up with Alan, even though Alan was my best boy. I think Alan, of the dudes, is my favorite. I love Keith, and I love Gerald. Sirius is seriously shady, but the other ones, like the other dudes in the show, I like. The entire cast is amazing. But Alan, seeing how far he had come, and everything that Katarina has been able to pull out of him, and like how she's made him a better person, just kind of made him best boy by default. I love all the dudes, but Alan was the best. And so having him be best boy for as long as he's been, leading up to episode 8, where we see all these different desires, and his was just playing piano with Katarina. Now, obviously, it probably would have eventually led to something a little bit more, but I like that we have Mary just shutting the book on that, which means we don't really get to see what Alan's true desire was. All we know is that he was playing piano, but maybe that was all the man was really planning to do. And I say that because Alan is proving to be the most pure, oddly enough. Like, his love for Katarina isn't like physical as it is with, say, Katarina and Gerald. It's more emotional as it is with, say, like Sophia or maybe Maria. And with Alan, it seems like more of like, you've helped me become somebody that I could never have been otherwise. Like, I would have just been this angsty dude, like grumbling his way through life, but you showed me that I actually have skill, that I can be something greater. And like, you can really feel that coming out of him by the time we get to the end scene. And this scene with him and Katarina climbing this tree, holy shit. Like, the lighting is perfect. The the colors beautifully contrast. Everything about this scene, this like sunset, is so good. This is just after they finish studying, and Katarina like takes off her shoes and is feeling like the grass on her feet. And again, it's another moment that really makes me start to kind of ship this even more, and actually maybe see it being a viable option, because we see this how she affects him, how Katarina is so different to the other nobles that Alan knows, and the same thing goes for everybody else. But seeing the way Alan reacts, as opposed to everybody else who just falls over head over heels, he's almost taking it as like a challenge, you know? And when he climbs the tree and he is talking to Katarina, and this is just like, I know that the show is gonna make a joke out of this scene, but for a minute, it looked like Katarina was actually kind of interested. And that really surprised me. Like, seeing like the way she's just like, it's pretty, isn't it? And the way she looked at him, I was like, holy shit. And like, they were real close to kissing. And this wasn't in the Book of Desire or whatever. This was like actually happening. Because Marie even says like, no, this is reality. I gotta stop him. And that's where the episode ends. Now, I don't know if that's a cliffhanger and we're gonna get resolution for this next week. If we don't, like, you guys know I love this show, but if we never get resolution on what happened there, I'm gonna be pissed. Because honestly, I was shocked. And now I'm starting to wonder if maybe Alan actually does have a chance. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see, I guess. With that said, though, everybody, I'm going to wrap up my thoughts here. Question of the day today: do you think Alan has a chance? Let me know in the comments. And with that said, we've reached the end of the video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, then don't forget to boop the up snoot and share if you care. And if you want to see me rambling even more, then feel free to follow me on Twitter or join our good folks Discord, both of which are linked in the doobly-doo. Lastly, if you're feeling generous, consider checking out our Patreon page to help support this channel. Speaking of which, I'd like to give a big thank you to our lovely patrons, such as Izevi, Alex, Andrew W., Branson C., Calvin A., Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G., Deep Not That Deep, Digger the Fox, Dominic G., Emily, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria T., Marshall B., Mater, Mirth Mouser, Nymad, Cell, Shadow Creative, Stephen G., The Suavest Orange, Tristan G., and Veridin. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon, and once again, thank you for checking out today's video. Hope you guys have a lovely day, and until next time, you stay classy, AnyTube, and wash your dang hands.